And you're the first one they heard. Welcome to Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. My name is Karen Seltz, and I am so excited. Tonight, I have with me my good friend, Jennifer Mckenzie, who is such a talented psychic medium and intuitive. She's a channel. She's brilliant. She's a Reiki master and NLP practitioner. She and I met for the first time at a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, and we were actually roommates for one night. So I got to know her in a very intimate setting, and that was 2.5 years ago, and we're still friends. And she's made a tremendous difference in my life. And the other guest I have with me is my good friend, my accountability buddy, Joanna Klein, who is a master at all things technology, at all things business. She's also a story writing coach, mentor, all kinds of great things. And as the person that I am, I had a session with Jennifer, a channeling session, and I said, Joanna, this was amazing. You got to do this. And she said, you're such a promoter. And then she did a session, and things for both of us have just exploded ever since. So, welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Karen. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Always fun to be with you.
Thank you. You too. So I want to talk to Jennifer about, like, I know the topic is the truth about psychic and intuitive abilities. And I would love to hear your take on it, because so many people say, gosh, I wish I had that. I wish I was more intuitive. I wish I was psychic. What do what's your take on all that?
Well, we are all psychic. So we're born this way. We actually come into this experience with intuitive ability. And actually, as the human species, it was wired into us as a survival mechanism back in the caveman days, right? It was called instinct. And animals have it. It's called instinct. You feel out into your environment, you're tuning into the energy and information around you, which is that projector, and you're feeling into your environment to make sure that it's safe. So you become hypervigilant, you become very in tune with the experience around you. But over time, as our minds or our brains evolved, so did our opportunity to experience life differently. And the difference between humans and animals is when they have the instinct and they turn it on, they need it because of survival mode, and then they're in a stress response. So it takes a lot of energy to be in that state, and then they turn it off, and then they go back to grazing, grazing in the grass. But humans turn on this hypervigilance, which is a form of intuition, but it's a stress response and it's coming from survival. When you activate from the heart, you change how you interact with your intuition. So we all have this innate within us. We just have to learn how to use it properly. It's a skill. Some people have it naturally. You're born with it and you come online with it and it just is there and you learn how to use it. Some people never learn how to use it, but it's a skill that you can build on. It's a skill that you can grow, that you can expand. Every single person on this planet comes here with it. Every person. Not one person has been left out.
Sorry, you're not special. If you're saying, no, no, not me.
I'm not.
So I know you teach this stuff, and at the end, I would love for you to tell us, what you do and how people can get in contact and all that good stuff. But what are some tips? What are some steps people can take right now to kind of increase their abilities to pick up that intuitive information or get those psychic hits or whatever you call them?
Oh, great question. So there's only one way to be able to access your intuition, and it's to be present. If you are in your past, thinking about your past or worrying about your past or focused on your past, you're not going to be present. So you're not going to be able to access your intuition. All of your intuitive power is in the now. If you're focused on the future and worried about your future, then all your energy and your attention is going into your future. So all of it is accessed right now. So practice being present, mindfulness, practice being present. And that is sometimes talking yourself through the process or just stopping to be still. One of the practices that I do in the morning is when I get up, I just stop and I look out the window and I look at the tree and I connect with the tree and I look at the leaves and I look at the changing colors and the seasons and I just take a moment to be present with the environment around me and the tree in the backyard. And that alone brings you into your intuitive energy.
Mm. Oh, that's so cool. Tell us a little bit about your path. Like, how did you know that you had these abilities? Because, all right, I'm going to share a story. This is so crazy. So I was at a Dr. Joe event and I was in a healing session and Jen joined it remotely. And I had my eyes closed and all of a sudden Jen's face like popped right in front of mine. And I literally went flying backward. I'm like, because she wasn't there physically. And you can say, but her intention was to connect with me. And it was like, I've never experienced anything like that. But how did you know you had these abilities? When did they first come online?
I forgot about that. I forgot that that happened. Thank you for reminding me that. That was fun.
For
Actually,
you.
yeah, for me, it was maybe not for you, but it was for me. My earliest memory was at 5 years old, and I would actually, it was not fun. I actually would wake up and I had gone down a flight of stairs through my living room and halfway down another flight of stairs without knowing how I got there. And I would be facing a little girl spirit in the corner of my basement who had a little bunny rabbit with her and she wanted to play with me because she was about my age. And I knew something wasn't quite right about that, but I didn't really have context for it at 5. So I always felt uneasy, and everywhere that I went, this would happen to me. That I knew there were ghosts in the house, and they knew I knew, and they would follow me around, and it would freak me out. So I wanted nothing to do with this. I would get intuitive hits, I would get psychic impressions. Of course, I didn't know that's what was happening at that time or that age because I didn't have a context for it. But later, looking back, I was like, oh, that's what was happening. But I think it was 28, I had a huge life change. I had a major life shift that I called the dark night of my soul, where everything just went kaboom and my psychic energy came online and I couldn't shut it off. So it was at that time that I had a lot of things happening. I was going into past life recalls. I was going out of body. I was seeing dead people of my family, that my mom's dad, who had been, she'd been adopted. So she actually never met him, but she had pictures of him. And I gave her details and information about him that I didn't know. Crazy things were happening in my house. And I was actually just sharing this story. I wasn't sure if I'd become unhinged, and I'm not kidding, or if something else was going on here. And that was the path. And it just started to unfold. And the teachers came and, I started to learn how to navigate it. And then I was actually focused on healing because I actually, a healing practice came into my awareness without, like, I didn't know what Reiki was, and it kept coming to me and it kept showing up for me. So eventually I finally succumbed to it. And that was the beginning actually of me being able to focus my energy, because I used to blow up curling irons, hair dryers, light bulbs. My energy was so kinetic and crazy. It was just all over the place. Once I started doing energy healing, I started to channel and focus, and then the vision started coming in and I started being able to make connections
Mm,
and just grew from there.
that's amazing. So the session that both Joanna and I did with Jen were channeling sessions. And one of the things she asked me is, this is not a mediumship session, but if someone who's crossed over comes through, are you open to that? And I, of course, was yes. I would love for Joanna to share her experience about that session and really like what's opened up for you, Joanna, since then. Because I mean, Joanna and I, how long have we been accountability buddies? We meet almost every single week.
Yeah, it's almost 5 years.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been incredible to watch, the shifts in her, but I really want to have her describe it.
Yeah, well, it's been incredible to watch the shifts in you as well. So, yeah, so I met with Jen it was the day before Christmas, and I've just recently gone through a relationship breakup of a 9-year relationship. And so I was, going into a pretty kind of, going into my cave of grief for a period of time as far as grieving the relationship and wondering what was next. And so the healing session, the session with Jen seemed like it would just be perfect. And sounded like, Karen, you'd had an amazing time. So the timing was really great for me. But what blew me away, and I've had a couple of different sessions with other psychic sessions before, but what blew me away is just like immediately what was coming forward just was so spot on. And I didn't say a word to you, Jennifer, about anything about, we just said nothing other than, can I sit over here? What do I need to do with the computer and all of that? And so what started coming forward was so powerful. And my journey, I would say the biggest thing for me over the years has been around my self-worth and about being able to take in my worthiness. And I've been one of those people who have measured my worth based on what I do. But no matter how successful I've been, there's this part of me that still feels like I'm not. And so that's one of the things that Jennifer tuned right into as far as my ability to hear that, and went back to a time in my childhood, which made so much sense to me about that fit in with what was happening in that environment about when it is that I'd started tuning this out. And so she did some healing through the spirits that came to support me. And it's funny because today in our accountability call, Karen was noting about my willingness to take, and I was sharing an experience about what happened recently in a course that I lead, and how there was some beautiful feedback that I had received. And I was sharing it with her, like in this, feeling very just humble and honored, but I was taking it in, and she's like, you're taking this in. This is not what you've done in the past. That you totally caught it right there. I was like, yeah. And then I was like, that's true. So
Yeah, I've seen you own things. Yeah, I've seen you own the positive feedback for the first time in 5 years, like in the last month.
Mhm.
And you're like, you text me like, oh my gosh, this is what happened. And it's just beautiful. And I mean, both of us were just celebrating each other because the changes have been so like huge, massive. I mean, it's hard to explain it, but
Absolutely. Yeah. And significant for me too, because of the breakup, this would, in my past experiences, this would be the time that I would be at my lowest, the lowest self-esteem, the biggest self-doubt. And for me to be able to be in this place during a time when that's still going on, when the grief is still going on, is really powerful.
yeah.
Awesome. I'm so happy for you.
Oh
Yeah, and
gosh.
listening to it, I took a hike just before this call, and I was listening to our call again, which was it's so wonderful to be able to have it recorded, and there was more. Oh yeah, I forgot that you said that. Oh yeah, and there was like, even since since the month, like these different things have happened that have come true, and there's more that you were saying ahead, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm ready for that.
Oh, that's great. I'm so glad. I'm so happy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been miraculous. So Jennifer, one of the things that really struck me is like, but when you came into the call, you had already connected with my guides. Can you talk, like, I don't know, just a little bit about the process? Like, what do you do when somebody schedules a session before the actual call?
Yeah, good question. So it's changed over the years as my process, the way that I connect has evolved and changed. And so currently, I've always do a meditation though. It's part of my practice. So I do my own, I walk my talk, so to speak. So I do my own inner work. I am on my own personal journey, but I always do a meditation that's always going to bring me into the highest and best space for myself, for you, so that I am in my best place for who I'm going to be connecting to. And then I prep ahead of time by, I just write your first name on a page and I start to tune into your oversoul. So I do the work as a channel. And that means that I can't take credit for the information that comes through. I'm just the messenger. So I step Jennifer, the personality, aside. So I'm kind of in the back seat. I'm still focused though, I can still talk to you. I'm not checked out. But Jennifer is kind of in the back seat, and then I tune into my oversoul and I call in my team, and then I ask to make a connection through your heart to your oversoul and your team, and we gather together to be a channel for, it's always for what's going to bring peace to your heart, your life, and to bring you into wholeness, the wholeness that your soul came here to achieve. Then I asked to see the timelines that are most significant for you right now, what's most valuable and important for you to be aware of at this time, keeping free will intact. And then if there's higher timelines for them to receive insight and guidance about, to please bring those forward as well as options and choices. So that's kind of how the body of it works. And sometimes there's other things that jump in there, but that's the basic structure of my readings.
Oh yeah, it was really amazing. And what's really fun is, if you know my personality, I'm kind of fun. I mean, at least I like to think so. So my guides were like playing and they're like poking me, and she's like, one of the things in order to achieve this is to eliminate distractions or minimize. And I'm like, oh man. And then she's like, oh, your guides say you haven't been meditating. I'm like, gosh, I'm like, I can't hide any of this. And I'm but there were so many playful things. And so of course I'm like, okay, I'm busted. I can't hide, right? I can't hide from my guides. Like everybody, they see everything. So it really got me more consistent in my daily practice and in connecting to spirit and being open to guidance and being open to, like you did some healing with me on a lot of things. And you found some places where I'd been holding guilt. One of them was my mom came through, and my mom lived in a different state than me when she passed away. And I flew out when the hospice told me, hey, she's going to die any day. But I wasn't in the room with her. And I really I had my heart set on being in the room with her. And I held so much guilt and maybe even a little anger toward my mom for daring to die when I wasn't there holding her hand. And one of the things, Jen, that you brought through was that's how she wanted it. And I knew that, but I needed to hear it. And so it's given me so much peace to kind of like say, okay, that's how she wanted it. She got what she wanted. I was there in the house, but I wasn't there in the room. So I'm just so grateful to you for all of that. And I really want to know, for people that are struggling, how can they make peace with these things that have happened in their past?
Oh, that's such it's a deep question. It's a good question, really good question though. Yeah, I think it depends on the context of what you're talking about. If you're talking about someone who's crossed over, is that what you mean?
Well, in my case, yes, that was it. Yeah, sure. Let's go there.
Okay. So, it's so important, I think, for people to understand that when someone has transitioned and left the earth plane, that they move back into a state of wholeness, and they move back into a state of unconditional love. So they are not angry, they're not feeling guilt, they're not wishing you were a better person to them. They are getting a reflection and an awareness of how they got to interact with the people in their life. And a lot of times that gives them insight to say, oh, wow, was I ever a jerk? Or, man, I could have done that better. I would love the opportunity to be able to take responsibility for that. So sometimes they'll come in, and the work that I do is very involved in, I do deep work and I do healing work with people because that's what I want to see. My intention is to see people go through transformation and live the best life that they can while they're here. So it's bringing that connection to someone to help them heal, so that the soul that is coming through gets the opportunity to share what they might not have been able to share, and that the person that's receiving it gets also to hear, hey, they're saying that you're carrying guilt in your heart over not being there. And they want you to let that go because that's how they wanted that experience to be for themselves. And there's nothing that you could have done to change that. So it releases a lot of the stored lower guilt, that energy that keeps you weighed down. And people who have a hard time letting go of the person who's transitioned, they just can't seem to accept it. If you imagine that your loved one in spirit is watching you, they do not want to see you in a state of suffering through your life journey here. They want to see you happy and whole and living your life out in the way that you're meant to, and not concerned or riddled with guilt or grief over their passing. They want you to continue on with your journey. That's the best thing that you can do for them, because so many people feel, well, there's survivor's guilt with a lot of people, where they feel guilty about being alive still, especially in spousal situations. But to recognize that we're all not getting out of here alive. Death is part of the experience, and you're here to enjoy life while you're here, and you're going to be able to merge back with all those wonderful people and pets and all those connections. You get to be a part of that. You're a part of it now, actually. You just aren't conscious of it. And if you tuned in, you could be more conscious of it. But that you do get to be a part of that greater connection when it's your turn to leave. So we're here for a good time, not a long time. So have a good time. Enjoy and give them something to be, to celebrate with you. So when they see you, they get to celebrate what you're doing and be happy for you. And then you get to share that experience when you go back into spirit and be like, yeah, wasn't that awesome? You see what I did and I accomplished? And oh my God, it was so great. That's what they want for you. They don't want you suffering and in grief.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And I think, for so many people, I think it's people believe in this stuff or they don't. And then some people are like, gosh, I wish it were true. And like, I would love to see everybody who's suffering or has any of those questions about, their loved one that's passed over. Would love for them to do a session with you, because I mean, it wasn't even at the top of my mind really that I had guilt around my mother's passing, but it was there. And I'm so glad that it came through in our session, because it really released a big load and opened me up, like Joanna, like for receiving. Because one of my things was receiving money. And since you and I did this thing, I want to talk about it. I know it's a little off topic, but we did a thing called sounding out your soul's note. So can you talk a little bit about that? And then I'll say what's happened since.
I sure can. It's so funny because this is something that when I teach energy healing certification, and in the master level part, I added this piece called the energetics of business. And it's a download that I received from my guides. I mean, I can't take credit for it because it's my guides, but it was this, it started out with actually my sister moving to Africa, selling all her stuff, and nobody was coming to this garage sale. This was years ago. No one was coming to the garage sale. So she was getting really frustrated, and I said, well, let me try something. And so I just sat down on her ottoman in the middle of her living room, and I tuned in, and And I don't know if I actually sounded out my soul's note at that time. I don't remember, but I remember tuning in and seeing everybody in the neighborhood coming and putting my energy out there. And within an hour, the place was full of people and my sister's jaw was on the floor and so was mine. I'm like, oh my God, it worked. So I had this idea to do sounding out your soul's note, because the resonance of who you are is who you want, right? You want the perfect client, then you're going to resonate your note to match the frequency to draw those people to you. And so the perfect clients, the perfect way to be in service, the perfect, however you want to, and you can do it in the city that you're in the state that you're in the country that you're in, or you can do it around the world. It's whatever you choose. How do you want to make an impact? And then you get into a space of receptivity and you take a breath, and then you go right from the heart and you just sound out your soul's note, and you see your soul's note just going through the airwaves and reaching all of the souls and the people who are ready to receive what you are putting down. and they're going to be drawn to you, and because you're a resonant match, and it's going to be a perfect connection. And I had crazy experiences happen. I had people say, "Oh my God, I was thinking about going to a psychic, and then I found your business card on the ground outside of Walmart in front of my car." I'm like, "Oh, that's a cool way for them to drum up business for me. Thank you." Yeah, just crazy, crazy stories, but yeah, so
Yeah. So the same things happened to me since we did that. I don't even know, I should have counted, but like dozens of people find me from, I don't know where. They're like, I was on the internet and you kept popping up. I'm like, how? Like, how could you, I don't know. It just made no sense. And it's happened so many times. Like people from who knows where, but the universe is bringing them to me. So it has to be that, like, whatever we did is
it
continuing
works.
to work, and it's continuing to work. We did it a couple months ago, probably, and
Yeah.
it's continuing to work. I got a new client this week that out of nowhere. Well, maybe a couple. So I just, man, what you do is
It's your
so
level of trust too. Let me put that in there. Like, you're open to receive and trusting and just putting it out there, right? So that's big piece of it. But that's amazing. I'm so happy for you. That's so awesome.
I mean, it's been incredible. And I'm really, like Joanna, like open to receiving the abundance. And I'm trusting that they're meant for me because I can make a difference in their lives. And I trust that. And everybody that's come from there has been like, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect client for me. I'm like, none of those, ones that I'm like, oh man. So yeah, it's been incredible. So I'm so grateful. So I would love to hear, tell everybody how they can find you and what you're teaching, what you have coming up.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So I'm on social media. I have a website, and it's jennifermckenzie.net, and it's MCK, jennifermckenzie.net, easy. And I have a lot of my classes that are coming up posted on there, and you can sign up right on my website. I'm also on Facebook under Psychic Medium Jennifer, and I'm under Instagram. I think, am I at Psychic Medium?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think maybe
I
it
don't, I
might be
don't, I don't
psychic
look
medium
myself up. So
Jennifer Mckenzie. It's pretty long on Instagram.
what
But
is it?
I'll link it up. I'll link it up in the show notes.
Okay, thanks.
No worries. But also your
And I have a
session.
class, I have a master class coming up actually this next Tuesday, Wednesday. It's a 2-day class. And it's the introduction to the inner mystic. And actually Sharon, I think, has taken that, and Sharon's given me a rave review. She's really had a great experience with the class. But so it's understanding the inner mystic within you, how to activate it, how to activate those six senses and start tuning in and getting connected to the field, and then so that's the 2-day, and then there's going to be a 6-day 6 week intensive, sorry, that's the level 1. And then I have a level 2, that's the 12-week intensive that I have going on right now. But next Tuesday is the master class. And it's a great way just to see, come and make the connection and see if you like the way that I teach, if we're resonant, and then if you like it, you can take a deeper dive.
And I highly recommend booking a session. She does channeling and she does mediumship sessions. They're unbelievable, as you have heard. Is there anything last words you want to share, Jennifer?
Yeah, now is the time. Now is the time to remember who you are. It's going to be very important over these next few years to start remembering. And to remember means to reconnect. And to reconnect just means to awaken that part of you that's been dormant, that's always been there. And that's your intuition. That's that part of you that knows how to lead your experience here, and not to, there's nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. You only have creation and opportunity and experience to look forward to, and to stay focused on that, because it's going to be a really weird couple of years coming up. Don't get caught up in the weirdness. Stay focused on creating your reality.
Love that. And Joanna, can you tell everybody what you do and how they can find you?
Sure. I have some online classes where we help people transform their life experiences into wisdom. And that's whether you're looking to find clarity and inspiration and intention for your next chapter, or if you're wanting to write your life story for legacy. So you can find me at journeytolegacy.com.
You're a writer.
I guide people to write their stories. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're a writer.
I'm a writer too.
You are very good at what you do.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much for being with me. And thank you everybody for watching Irresistible You, Ignite Your Passion and Purpose. I will see you right here next week.